Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss current affairs and gazette for today, that is 2nd of March 2022. Let me welcome all of you participants here. We have Bhavani, who has joined a little late today. Hi Netra, Amlan, Kriti, Kim, welcome all of you. Hi Lost Soul, welcome back, paying your visit once in a while. Hello Kanupriya, good evening. Hima, good evening to you. And we have Vivek, welcome. Who else? We also had 4J today. Yes, 4J. Welcome to you as well. All right. Kanupriya, it's good to see you right. Very nice. Enriching understandings. All right. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. Let us begin this conversation. And what do we have for today? Yes, what we have for today are some really beautiful articles for yourself. First is the updates. First is the advance estimates, GDP advance estimates for this year. Along with that, we have dependency on Russian weapons. There's news on the dependency. There are quite a few editorials that we have discussed, that we have to discuss on Russia itself and something to learn from it. And the third one is Montreux Convention, right? Important update about mapping from Montreux Convention. I expected this to happen in the last year pre-exams, but now possibly it can get asked in this exam. So these are the updates. This day in history dedicated to first government-owned company in the country. This was in Bihar and Sindri. All right, that company still exists, but now not very much profitable. Feature news for the day is on lifestyle for environment. Prime Minister has been repeating this term again and again, and that is why we thought we must cover the featured news on this. So we understand in totality what lifestyle for environment is about. You also wrote some question on this. We will discuss this in the feature news. Image of the day on Perini Dance form, right? And we'll understand the details. Terms and concepts. IVFRT scheme, which has been extended now in the country. We will understand what this visa scheme is about. The second one is Deocha Pachami coal blocks in one of the western districts of West Bengal in news for a specific thing. The third one is International Intellectual Property Index. An American agency rating. India is developing its intellectual property. What's on the moon challenge? Phase 2 of this challenge has been initiated by NASA. We'll understand this. The three editorials that we have, one on the state of non-alignment that India has, and some very good wisdom-oriented discussion on this editorial. The second one is on warming world, based on the report that we had lately. The second part of the assessment report 6 of IPCC, and the third one is on hybrid warfare. The case study of the day is on a young girl who's planted thousands of trees, age 9. Now, quite a few articles related to Russia. What is more important is to pick these articles and understand how international relation, how security, how the economy, how diplomacy works, and how governance as well works, because all of them are interrelated. So when we look at an article about Russia and hybrid warfare, start looking at defense technology, start looking at how information technology is of prime importance to India, because India also is on the verge of facing a hybrid warfare, or India can actually defend itself by being ready for a hybrid warfare. So we must understand what this hybrid warfare means. A very much possible question. In fact, we had questions of this sort in the main examination this year itself. So start looking at questions or whatever we discuss from the perspective of how it is related to the examination. The second one is on non-alignment, very, very important and balanced article. Along with that, we also have a couple of articles related to Ukraine, Montreux Convention, and dependence on Russian weapons. So start looking at how Make in India could be helped or devised to diversify our imports, many other things, right? So let's begin this conversation. But before we begin, let me share something that has been in news lately. All right. Peace lover, good evening to you. All right, no worries, Bhavani, it's fine. Now you are up. Jab jago tabhi savera. All right, so this is the update. We people go through migraine, right? Migraine happens, and then stress, a little more headache, and then we go through hypertension, a little more of headache, and then the other one is living next to Russia. The kind of headache that countries like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, all of them go through. What about Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania? If you start looking at the map, all these countries have faced some or the other problems while being the neighbors of Russia. So this is the Google Maps that we have right here, and either the Central Asian countries which abide by what Russia says, or we have some economies which are moving towards Europe. So Belarus, totally a part of, I mean, a vassal state, as people call it. You understand vassal, no? Of the medieval times, there was a king and the vassal. The vassal state being Belarus, but then three economies: Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Some of the other, they have gone through some or the other form of hybrid warfare. Ukraine, you're already seeing. South of Russia, we have the Chechnya region and then the warfare here. Georgia, South Ossetia region in Georgia, already going through those problems. Azerbaijan, all of them have gone through some or the other turmoil. So the biggest headache is the presence of such a dominant neighbor, right? Another news, right? Just a meme. A person at immigration, they ask, what is the destination? So Mr. Putin says Helsinki, and then he asks, what is occupation? What is your job here? So he says, no, I have just come for a visit. Do you want to occupy? No. So this is a good pun on Russia. And then we also have one more man, Nasir Hussain. Tough time responding that he is not the president of Russia, but the ex-captain of England's cricket team, right? And then we had another one last week coming in. Taliban issues a statement, says there should be peaceful resolution of Ukraine-Russia crisis. What an irony. Irony had a miserable death when we saw these kind of Twitter updates. All right, so this is it. Let's begin this conversation. The first article is on GDP Second Advance Estimate. See, have we entered the next year right now, the next financial cycle? We have not entered. So if we have not entered the financial cycle, this would be called as an advance estimate of the GDP of the next year. And all the advance estimates indicate towards something good only. Have a look. All the advance estimates say agency, IMF, RBI, World Bank, SBI, Moody's, Barclays, all of them say that we would be growing between 7.6 to 10%. It's a very good indicator for Indian economy, because after Corona pandemic, we have not only come back to the neutral state, but we have also gone beyond and started to grow. So this is a good indication. However, the article highlights what is the reason that we receive different estimates at different times. So there are different levels of estimates. For example, first advance estimate, and then the second advance estimate, the third advance estimate. Why are we having these many advance estimates? The main reason is because there are different times when they are conducted. Before the beginning of the year, from April, financial year, April to March, if advance estimates are calculated, we understand what will be the growth trajectory of the nation, what will be the inflation levels in the country, what should be the ideal levels or target set for export and import, what should be the forex levels of the country. And this is how many people, they start to look at investment in the future, right? We are not talking of hundreds and 200 rupees, but thousands and thousands of crore rupees. So this is the reason that estimates are done, and multiple level of estimates are done is because at different times when different data keeps pouring in. For example, let me share with you an important update before this, right? So mixing a couple of things, but then this one is what I had been waiting for a very long time. You must have this with yourself. This image, take a screenshot of this. This is a very important image. Budget at a glance. I was looking at this and then thankfully I got this somewhere. Now what this speaks of is the complete picture of budget, right? And I will sort it out for you so that you are able to understand nuances of the budget. You are able to speak about it without any further deeper analysis. See, the total level of expenditures that we have is point number 9. Total expenditure is 39 lakh and 44,000 crores. So close to 40 lakh crores. Consider this 40 lakh crore. Expenditure is 40 lakh. Total expenditure. The total receipts that we have must be 40 lakh only. It has to be 40 lakh. But out of these 40 lakh, a considerable part is the loan, right? So have a look at capital receipt and revenue receipt. Revenue receipt is what we receive in this year. We receive 22 lakh crore, which has 19 lakh crore of tax and some non-tax also. So largely 22 lakh crore is our receipts, and in capital receipts, which are also a part of the receipts, you see the total borrowings that we have, borrowings and liability is 17 lakh crore. If you remove the borrowings, The rest of are actual receipts. For example, we have recovered the loan that we gave, right? We got some capital assets, we disinvested. All of them are the part of capital receipts, right? So out of the 40 lakh that has gotten formed, 22 lakh is, or 23 lakh is the actual amount that we have, and 17 lakhs is the borrowings and liabilities. 17 lakh is borrowing and liability. And out of 17 lakh, the if you would want to know the loan that we have taken, that is 17 lakhs. And out of 17 lakhs, if you want to know the interest payment that we have had, have a look at this. Interest payment is to the tune of 9 lakh. We keep borrowing every year. Now see, 9 lakh is what we are paying just only as interest. So we are borrowing effectively only 7 lakhs, and rest of 9.5 lakhs are loans, only loans. So this is Purana loan, the old loan, and in addition we have taken 7 lakh crore more loan. Imagine, even if we are paying 4-5% of interest rate, it will add up to this loan. So therefore this loan is the most painful. Out of 40 lakh that India is needing for expenditure, 9 lakh is the loan only. 9 lakh is the interest only, interest payments. Imagine this. This is the kind of burden that the loan has. So you must keep a screenshot of this. And when you look at expenditure, a part of this is interest payment, as I mentioned. Along with that, this 39-40 lakh crore, what happens to the money? 7.5 lakh crore is for capital investment, and the rest around 32 is for revenue payments, right? And in revenue payments comes a huge chunk, that is the interest payment. All right. So this you must remember, and this is how you will be able to understand the effective capital, effective revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, primary deficit. You must remember this. And the last parameter is the one for this year. See, what I wanted to link through this understanding is this part: revised estimate and the budget estimate. See, budget estimate was the estimate which was done last year. This is for the last year. These second two columns are for the last year. That means this present year. This is for the upcoming year, 2022-23. This is for the second, the middle two are for the present year, that is 2021-22, right? So the actual estimate that was done last year, this is the first one, and revised estimate is what we have understood right now after payments have been made. So you see a revision here. This is how they also revise what happens in the country right now. So when we are looking at the revision of the estimate here, advance estimate, is based on some data of the third quarter, some expenditure from the third or fourth quarter, and that is why we see the first advance estimate and second advance estimate and the third advance estimate to be different. That is what it is, right? So this is how the calculations are done, and this is overall this is a standard practice to understand what is the level of economy, state of economy of the country, and what could it be in the future. For example, the capital formation, or what is the consumption expenditure, what is the savings, what is the reinvestment measure in the country, right? So this is the update. RBI has been following an accommodative policy. Accommodative policy is a very important word. Accommodative policy is a very, very important keyword. It means that RBI doesn't want to get into payments or through creation of finances. All it wants is that it must have measures to be able to sell bonds or purchase bonds from the market, and this is how it will be able to manage the finances, right? Taking loans but not printing the money. Accommodative policy, right? So this was in the news last year completely. See, pandemic times have tested India's economy also, world's economy. So accommodative stance is what India has taken. USA has printed a lot of money, India has not. All right. So this is it, and we have linked some articles here, a couple of articles from the budget, and yes, malnutrition and rising economic growth. This is an article from the Cosmos also. So relevant and related articles, not directly related to finances, but very relevant to economy, because economy is expanding, GDP is only increasing with time, but this is not leading to growth, the actual growth of employment, not leading to good nutrition amongst people. How is it possible? And we also have covered one article over capital expenditure push. But then this segment, this is the most important segment for you. If you remember this, you will be able to prove a lot of things, because this is like the Gita, this is like the Bible for you, right? When we talk of Indian economy. Okay. So the second update is on India's dependence on Russian weapons. All right. What is the update here? Yeah, he's not Putin. He's Nasir Hussain, cricketer. Just 10 years back, he used to play for, and he was the captain. The update is on India's dependence for Russian weapons. See, before the weapons, there were a couple of things that I missed sharing with you yesterday. Impact on the whole world because of this kind of issue between Ukraine and Russia. One of the chief impact is that of bank run. You understand what is bank run? As simple as people running to the bank to gain their money back. Why? Because if transactions are getting cancelled, if the world is not allowing the transactions, especially in rubles, in the Russian currency, or the depreciation of ruble is happening, people would want the currency to be translated into a more credible currency, dollars or yen, yuan, whatever it is, Indian rupee itself. But you see, the value of rubles has gone down with time, and this is only because of the actions of Russia. So bank run, because people would want to go to bank and retrieve their money, right? Banks also will fall in these times. So even when the actual economy is not following, the perception that the banks will not have its importance or significance, or banks, even if they give loans to people, they will not be able to get back their loans. So if we have put our money in the banks, let's take it out immediately, right? Because we don't know if the bank will be able to get back its lent amount or not. Let's take out our money as soon as possible. So this is a fear, a scare amongst people. This is one of the impacts. Bank run is one important impact that could lead to havocs in any economy, right? Remember the times when India also went through demonetization? People ran towards the banks. When there was a crisis with PNB, people ran towards PNB and then started taking out their money. The same thing happened when there was a crisis with the Yes Bank, right? Rana Kapoor and the crisis, the CEO of Yes Bank alleged, found to have done some malpractices while he was the CEO of the bank. So people wanted to take out all their money. This is the bank run that we are speaking of. There are other impacts also, a couple of more impacts apart from wheat and oil seeds that we spoke. India also imports a considerable proportion of other minerals. For example, we have a huge import of fertilizers from these countries, Russia and Ukraine both included. Not only that, we also import some kind of chips for camera procedures. For example, the hardware devices for camera. When we want to develop the film for camera, we import these entities from Russia and Ukraine. So these are the problems that India is supposed to face in case the crisis further deepens, right? So these are important things that you must note along with how India is getting impacted. The third and major impact is that of dependence on Russia's weapons, right? So along with the other entities, defense weapons. When we look at defense weapons, I had already shown you a very good image yesterday that was about the level of imports of defense by India, right? And this is to the tune of billions of dollars, right? So while Russia was the chief exporter of weapons to India, this dark blue line, right? It has decreased in these times. 2018-19 onwards, it has decreased. But yes, we have also purchased these $5 billion, five sets of S-400. That is what has made our the defense expenditures from Russia high in 2019-20. That is true. But if you leave that apart, India has started to diversify. USA's imports from USA have increased a little, but then we have also further diversified. So this is the point that I am making. But even then, since we had imported a lot of items in the past 40 years, 50 years from Russia, we have to maintain them. And if we have to maintain them, we have to pay finances, rupees, dollars, right? This is what we have to do. So when we do this, this is also very expensive, right? Now, Russia has been a time-tested friend. You all know that. So let us look at the kind of import dependence that we have from Russia, and especially defense, right? So only $10 billion, but a considerable portion for defense. 85% of dependence is on Russia, right? Although we are looking at diversification, but then you see the kind of examples that we have. S-400 Triumph missiles, Russian. What about AK-47 rifles, AK-203 rifles? All of them Russian, and we are also manufacturing them in India now. Amethi, Uttar Pradesh will have this setup, right, under Make in India and the defense partnership between Russia and India. P75I project, P75I submarine project, which will have 6 air independent propulsion submarines for India. Air independent propulsion submarines. The present level of submarines that we traditionally have are the diesel submarines, and then we have nuclear capable submarines, right? Not nuclear capable, nuclear powered submarines. Nuclear capable means they have nuclear attack weapons. Yes, we have nuclear attack weapons also. That is what is called as ready in tri-forces ways, right? We can attack through nuclear weapons from air, from land, and from water, each of them. But that is called as nuclear capable. We are talking of nuclear powered. We have nuclear powered submarine. We have the conventional diesel submarines, and we are also creating this air independent propulsion submarines. I expect a question like this in examination very much. Why? Because they have been constantly in news. See, the primary difference between all these types is not visible to us, but then it's about the concept. There is something called as reconnaissance, or looking into the shallow waters, nearby areas, and then there is something called as going deep into the waters. Deep means thousands of kilometers away from India's mainland, venturing out, just like China does. In those cases, if we have a nuclear submarine, that does the work, because the nuclear fuel ensures that it keeps fueling the submarine for even 6 months. The nuclear submarine will not have to come out of water even for a lot of time. All they will need is supplies for the people. What supplies? Food supply, clothes supply, water supply. As much as that is stored there, they will be able to be in the water. The energy will not be a constraint. So these are for submarines which venture out deep. India is also constructing nuclear submarines. We have that, right? What about diesel submarine? These are the traditional submarines. They make sound. Diesel burns and blasts off, and that is how energy is produced. So diesel submarines make noise, and they are kept a little closer to us, right? Not for deeper ventures, although if required they will go, because nuclear is not ready everywhere. No, it's not ready. So diesel will go deeper into water or away from the land. However, diesel makes noise, and if noise is made in water, it can easily be detected, and that is how they are prone to attack by the enemies. Now in diesel submarine, for burning of diesel, we also need oxygen, and for getting oxygen, we will have to ensure that the submarine comes to the surface of water every now and then. So every 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, just like the fishes come out to take in some water, right? The mammal fishes like whales and others. Similarly, the diesel submarine will have to come out, and this is how it will, it might even disclose its location. So this is the traditional disadvantage. When we look at air independent propulsion, now you see it is partially electronic submarine, and this is where we do not utilize the traditional diesel technology. They are air independent, so the submarine need not come out every time in the open. Now considered as one of the modern submarines, air independent propulsion submarines, India is manufacturing them with the help of Russia. See, so when we look at AK weapons, one of the smartest weapons in the world, I don't know how they produce these weaponry, right? So what is projected out in Hollywood movies is Russia has goons, Russia has cheats, Russia doesn't have great weapons, but you see how it is dominating over a place like Ukraine. Surprising, no? And look at the kind of partnerships that we have: S-400, AK rifles, P-75I, and other submarines also. The previous aircraft carriers that we have had, Russians only, So Vikramaditya, the only aircraft carrier that we have right now, is Russian built, and the one that we are building right now is INS Vikrant. So India has a habit of naming aircraft carriers or its vessels with the names that it already had in the past. So first one was that we owned was Vikrant, and then we had Virat, and then we had Vikramaditya, and now we are also recreating another Vikrant. Do not forget these names. The hierarchy or the sequence is very important. The first one was Vikrant, and then we had Virat. The third one is Vikramaditya, and then we have Vikrant again. The first two were taken from UK. They had different names. The third one has been taken from Russia. And then fourth one, which we are indigenously building, is Indian. So after it is built finally, Virat and Vikrant, Vikramaditya and Vikrant, these both of them will be India's aircraft carriers. Imagine how many number does China have? Quite substantial, far more than what we have, far more than. Their naval power is far bigger than what we have. But then look at India's imports again. BrahMos missile, India gaining the edge because of this. Fighter jets, MiG series, MiG-21, MiG-29, Sukhois, all of them are Russian, right? Similarly, tanks, India's main battle tank, Arjun, which is a remake of T-72 tanks. Yesterday, you remember, I had shown you the video. So, T-72 tanks are the base on which the rocket launchers, the fire launchers are based, T-72. And India's Arjun tank is based on the T-72 tank itself. So imagine what all we have. We have a huge dependence and maintenance, repair costs, technical understanding, right? The 3D printed device maintenance systems, all of them have to be taken from Russia. So you can well imagine how we are dependent on Russia, right? Articles linked here are Sipri's report on arms trade, 2020. This was a feature news. We had discussed about, we had revealed how the world works around, right? So arms trade will only happen in conventional weapons. They will not happen in the nuclear weapons. Sipri report itself. And who are the major exporters, major importers? Click here to read, and also YouTube, you would find this video as a feature news. Modernization of Indian armed forces, integrated theater command, weaponization of trade by China, all of them, right? So these are the linked articles. Also, you must have known already about this update that Russia has said that nobody should be, nobody can spend their funds abroad right now, right? So they cannot convert their, money of rubles in other currencies, especially in dollars, right? So update. The third update is on Montreux Convention. What is this? Now this convention primarily made people understand who will be the one controlling the region between Mediterranean and Black Sea. Now let's have a look at the Google Maps here. Making you revise quickly what about these places. Now this is the Sea of Azov. Sea of Azov is almost completely under the control of Russia right now. See, if you look at the map here, this is the Russian boundary. This is the Russian boundary, and then we have a country, Ukraine here, and this is Belarus, and this is Kiev. Now these are the eastern areas which want independence, right? Those two provinces, and which are largely called as Donbas region, and this is Crimea. When Russia is moving from north, east, and southern area, one of the ways in which it is being interpreted that Russia wants complete integration of Crimean region and these pro-independent region. It wants domination over these areas, and this is what it will try to do. This is one of the interpretations. The other people say that they want to completely overrun Ukraine and get it back for themselves, just like Belarus is a vassal state, Ukraine also should become one. But see, there is a reason why they would want this particular integration. Why? Because Crimea would completely get integrated with this region. And the second one is Sea of Azov. Sea of Azov, a very, very important hotspot for the war between Ukraine and Russia, because naval weaponry, naval weapons are of both the countries are right here. And not only Sea of Azov, you look at Black Sea region. Now Black Sea is one of the places where Georgia also has got its links, and then Turkey. So many countries are bordering Black Sea. This is what I want to share. This is the update on. And what is the important strait here? Anybody? Name of the strait? This is Kerch Strait. So if Russia has complete occupancy, all this region will belong to Russia. This is what is one of the primary goals. But then it must, Russian Navy or Russian deals, Russian traders must move out to Mediterranean to be able to trade with India, to be able to trade with China. This is one of the routes. The other route is the route from Vladivostok, very long. But if you want to trade from western part of Russia, this is the only exit for these big tankers, big containers. And then they would have to cross Turkey. And these are the places which are controlled by Turkey, bringing you to what is in news right now. So there are two important straits here, Straits of Dardanelles and Strait of Anybody? There are two important straits. Strait of Dardanelles and another important strait. Can anybody name that strait? Strait of Bosphorus. So these important straits, this is what is being controlled by Turkey. This is what has been said, not by me, but through this important Montreux Convention. Montreux is an important place from Switzerland, and this is where this convention was held in 1934. They finalized Turkey will have the final say. During peace times, Turkey will have no objection to anybody trading or moving out and in from this area. But when the time is of war, then Turkey will have control over the movement of these ships. And the prime contention here is that if the ships belong to the Mediterranean Sea region, they will not be allowed to move into Black Sea. As simple. And if the ships, their original post is in Black Sea, they will not be allowed to move to Mediterranean Sea. As simple as that. This is what Turkey has said we will execute right now, because earlier we had thought that this was an annexation by Russia, but now we think that this is a full-fledged war because Ukraine is also retaliating back. So in this state of war, we will not allow the ships, especially the warships, to move around, right? So this is where, and now one more important development. See, why should the natural question came to my mind, and then it could come to yours as well. When Russia does not border any of the Mediterranean countries, or it is not present physically in Mediterranean, then what is the reason that it has naval bases in Mediterranean? Look at this. This is the politics of the countries. Russia has been helping Syria, the ruling government of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, and at Syria it has a naval base. This is the significance. See, its military ships, its warships can actually come to Syria, and through global positioning system GPS, it has been found that there has been an accumulation, an untoward and a very, very strange accumulation of ships, Russian ships near Syria occupation. So, this is the way Turkey is responding, saying that we will not allow these ships to move to other regions, Black Sea, and Black Sea ships not to move out. This is not going to have a huge impact on war, because this war largely right now is happening between these countries in continental areas. But then, of course, it is indicative of what Turkey's stand is. So, is Turkey a part of NATO? Absolutely true. So, this is the update, and this is where I want you to start looking at all the areas of tension. I posted in the live chat that particular video that I had done before the pre-exam, that was based on mapping of important places. Important places, this was the first hotspot that I had spotted the last year itself, August, that this is a hotspot for war, and you could see in that video. The other reason is the issue between the countries here, Syria and Lebanon area. This is the small country. Cyprus also has issue with Turkey. I discussed this. Along with that, you look at the region of Caspian Sea, right? Countries trying to have a pipeline from interior of the Caspian Sea. So this part is important. The borders between the countries here, India, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, or if Afghanistan has a direct border with India or a direct border with the bigger countries here, China, is it there or not? So this has been discussed. Along with that, the eastern part, right? The South China Sea, East China Sea, this has been discussed. So that video becomes very, very prominent for you, all right? So this is what is Montreux Convention about, Strait of Bosphorus and Strait of Dardanelles. All right, both are important. And then Aegean Sea, Marmara Sea, I've discussed this all. Please have a look at this video. So not only trade of oil, but the presence of the strategic navy, that is also being curtailed or contained with the help of Turkey. All right. But Russia can actually override this. You know how? Russia might say that these specific ships have been designated to Mediterranean, so allow me to move, but then it cannot come back again. That is the only point. All right, so this is the update. Now this is where you must know whether India is aligned or not aligned. This article, does it link directly to our UPSC syllabus? No, not directly, but indirectly. Can it be asked for mapping? Absolutely, absolutely. In pre-exam, this is how they spot places. But then if you look at the role of Turkey, it has played a non-aligned role or an aligned role. This is for an example that a country like Turkey can also try to withhold a bigger power. This is where I have related these articles to non-aligned movement. It is 60 years of NAM, no? This is the year 2022. And 60 years back, 1962, is when we said we will follow NAM, right? But then, are we a non-aligned country? We are aligned to the interests of our country. This is how we are aligned. We are not aligned. We don't have permanent allies. We have permanent interests of India. important article that we covered previously, linked here, nuclear doctrine, very good peaceful doctrine that we have, nuclear deterrence. So nuclear doctrine connected here. Similarly, Arctic tree system and Antarctic tree system, treaty, both of them we have connected here, so that you understand that those places which are relevant for scientific exploration or free movement, they should not have any military presence. So related articles, right? Start linking this. This is what is wisdom. Knowledge is the accumulation, and wisdom lies in simplification. What are the questions? Let's look. Capability approach could help. Kriti says $1 is 78 ruble. Previously, now around. So there was a time when I had gone to, but I don't remember this. Yes, I remember now. I remember. So I had gone to USA via Moscow, and that time I remember the flight got delayed, and what happens is that the flight gets delayed for a smaller time, and there is no compensation to be paid by the flight, right? And I was flying by these the Russian flight services itself. What was the name? It is the Sukhoi planes, but then they were called as the Russian flight companies. What are they called as? Anyhow, I was flying by that flight, and what they were doing was they were extending the flight time by 30 minutes every time. It'll arrive in 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and this is how they extended it to 3 hours. 30 minutes 6 times. That is when people started to question, oh, what are you doing? Pay us something. We are hungry. You can't delay our times like this. So they came up with paying 5 units of their currency, 5 rubles to each of us. And what I could purchase in these 5 rubles was a sandwich for myself and a small drink. So this is how I have spent some rubles once. These companies, I'm forgetting the name of that airline company. Very popular, Russian, and cheapest, most economical. Why? Because people wouldn't want to fly Russian these times, because the other countries, NATO countries, they are all eyeing the Russian aircrafts, and this is the reason that the rates of Russian aircrafts are cheaper when you want to fly in the East Europe region. Imagine this. This is how the economy works. All right. Rahul says, sir, please make video on Cosmos magazine. I will discuss the articles of Cosmos. No worries. Rahul, Russia has Rasputin. All right. Niranjan, welcome. Sir, frigates and ships are same. Frigates are small ships. We have discussed this previously. Kriti, you were not a part of the current affairs then. So there are 5-6 kind of ships. One are frigates, one are corvettes, and then we have aircraft carriers, and then we have the submarines, right? So frigates are smaller ships, faster, and corvettes are even smaller. And then we have battleships. Main battleships. They are very heavy, they are big. But then main battleships have to be helped with smaller ships, fast moving ships who can not only protect these ships, these frigates will also be able to protect our frigate, and corvettes will also be able to protect our trading ships which have bigger containers, which have oil containers, right? If you know, there have been allegations of attack in Mediterranean Sea itself by Israel, by Iran, by various other countries, Greece, etc. And they all say, we don't know who has attacked us. And many times Israel has threatened Iran of consequences because there have been attacks on their ships. We don't know who has been attacking who, but then this is the reason that we need frigate or corvette ships, fast moving smaller ships, which can protect our bigger ships at critical choke points, right? So corvettes are the smallest of these, which are fast moving, even faster and smaller in weight. And when we look at frigates, they also are able to help us understand the presence of the submarines, right? So this is, and when you look at all these ships together, frigates, corvettes, aircraft carrier, submarines, the main battleship, all of them together, and the coastal ships, all of them together, this is what forms a fleet. One of the largest fleet in the world is 7th Fleet of USA, which is posted in East Asian region. It also happens to come to India sometimes for irking India. If you know what is FONOP, Freedom of Navigation Operations, they conducted They go very close to our mainland, Lakshadweep, and then China, and then they say this is freedom of navigation. And then when they are detected in our radar, we say you should have informed us at least, because it's your battleship which is moving from here. And they say no, this is freedom of navigation. So this is how they challenge the other countries' integrity. All right. Okay. Bosphorus, thank you. Thank you, Vivek Kriti Netra. If Turkey is a member of NATO, then why Russia sold S-400 to Turkey? Okay. Aeroflot. Yes, Aeroflot, Kim. Aeroflot. We will talk about your Turkey as well, and we will also talk about Malaysia and Israel. See, one thing that I can look at Malaysia and Israel is possibly that Malaysia has a good chunk of Islamic population, and Israel is one country which doesn't want to deal directly with these nations, right? But then Israel is also evolving. New Abraham Accords, through which it has had greater relationship with UAE, right, and Bahrain. So this is a good move. But I don't know about the irritants between Israel and Malaysia right now. But if you could post one of the links, I would definitely be able to do some research about this. Israel and Malaysia. What is the issue? What is the issue when? Yes, by the way, Malaysia is looking at purchasing India's Tejas. That is a very, very good move. India has been displaying these Tejas aircrafts world over, in UAE, in Singapore, Changi Airport. All right. Looks like, sir, you visited all world's popular destinations. This indicates, sir, has good amount of bank balance. No. No, that's not true. I was studying then, and I told my parents that I told my parents then that I'll be able to study well in case I travel once. And I traveled all around. I didn't land at Moscow. I knew that they would conscript me in their services. So it was just through the airport, and I happened to pick up a flight to the first destination was yes, the first flight was to JFK, John F. Kennedy, New York. And then I went to my sister's place. She was based in Texas, in a very important small city. And after that, I went to, what city did I go to? I went to San Francisco, SFO. From there to Los Angeles, and then to Las Vegas. And after that, we came to Chicago. After that, I went to New York, and then I flew back. So I had a good understanding of what a developed world looks like, what is the meaning of climbing a 100-floor building, and we could even do that in 30 seconds. So that was a different, remarkable understanding, and that's when I understood that socialist way of life is one way of life, but there is also another way, capitalist way of life. All right, Aeroflot. And what happened in Aeroflot services was that I said, give me meals. So they had, it's a very long flight, 8-9 hours of journey, and then 8-9 hours again to cross the Atlantic. So they've offered us food, and they don't have vegetarian food. They only have chicken meat, chicken food or other non-vegetarian food, right? Where they include, in chicken also they would have turkey, but in the other meals they would have pork, beef, all of them included. So you have to specifically let them know what we want to eat. I said chicken meal is good, and then I had a great time eating all what they had to offer. I didn't know that the processed meat, the different color of the meat would mean something else to me. I ate everything that they offered, and later I got to know about what all I ate. So traditionally, if we want to travel and if we are specific about our meals, especially Indians, what we have to order in advance is a Hindu meal. This is what they call as Hindu meal, traditional Hindu meal, but this is not offered in all the flights. Aeroflot wouldn't offer this. Air India would offer this, definitely. Taj is allotted this contract. All right. So moving ahead, and yes, I spent quite a lot of money also in Vegas. I came back bankrupt. I spent around $350. My papa had given me this money. He had given me in an envelope. Use it only during time of emergencies. And I thought $100 of betting would be enough. But then emergency, I had to recover this. So I spent one by one all the money, and then had a very good time there, right? So overall, I came back in deficit, and my father did everything for me. Thank you, Papa. All right, this is the reason probably I expanded more than what I was required to expand at for UPSC journey. So vision is important, and then direction is also important. This day in history dedicated to first government-owned company. This is the Sindri factory. This is where fertilizers would be created. And this company is still existent in some way, but then not at all profitable. India looks at reviving all the fertilizers in this industry in India. You know this very well. Why? Because we want the phosphate production, we want the potash production, and we want the nitrogen production all happening in the country. Oh yes, reminds me of Ukraine and Russia again. We have a very decent level of potash import from Ukraine and Russia, right? So one is potash, the other one is those specific minerals for, yes, titanium is another one. Oh, how am I forgetting on this? Titanium for aircrafts, potash for fertilizers, and then another one important, that is some, you know, developing of photographic film. So all those are important things that we import from Russia and Ukraine. They will be impacted. All right. This day in history covered. Feature news for today is on lifestyle for environment. We will understand what Prime Minister has been meaning to say, and your examples truly valid. Let me give you a couple of brief examples on lifestyle for environment. Right now, the people who own vehicles, cars, are treated as actually richer than the people who walk in their lives, right? Who walk from one place to another. This is the transformational change that is required. Another one is treating people who actually clean our homes as kachre wala. They are the safai wala, no? They are the ones who help us clean. Who is kachra wala? We are the kachra walas. This is the change that we need. This is lifestyle for environment that must provide the basic change. These are the examples that I'm looking for. Something that is extraordinarily simple yet beautifully remarkable, right? So this is what we will understand in today's feature news, lifestyle for environment, what Prime Minister has been meaning to convey, and what we must also understand. High time for us. All right. Okay. Moving ahead to image of the day. Today's image is on Perini Dance performance. This dance performance was conducted just lately during the times of Mahashivratri, and this is one of the traditional art forms of Telangana. Why is it is popular? Is because of the prime reason that it is not only a dance form, it is also considered spiritual, divine, something that connects us to something more than us, provides us humongous amounts of energy in the body itself, focus of the energy in the body. So this is why Perini dance has been famous, right? Inspired from the word prerana, prerani, right? Inspiration. So this is how the word has been inspired. Also stimulator, inspiration or stimulator. This is how the word has been inspired. Perini, prerana, prerani, right? And this dance form is also very important because it helps us regulate our body. Tal, gati. Tal is percussion. Thak, 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 tuk, 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 percussion. Gati, the speed of movement, and yati, the interval, the gaps. This is what it focuses on, right? And this is how we are able to conduct ourselves in a very, very controlled manner, and it links us to our higher self. Now, this is where you see one important sentence has been written here. I would like to bring attention to that particular sentence. It says that this particular dance form is related to science. Scientifically, it is said to be one of the only form of scientifically composed male warrior dance. Now, this is where a lot of people contend that how can you call this scientific? This can be culturally oriented but not scientific. Now, I would like to share a very, very wise opinion, if you can regard this as one. Whatever is the form of culture we have, whether people have bindis or whether there are other things, for example, wearing bangles or wearing a tilak, whatever it is, different cultures at different places. It possibly might have a scientific relevance. I am not aware. I am not speaking about if Ganesh ji, his head was transplanted and we had this technology in primitive times, not that. But then what presently we follow, which is common sense understanding, it might have a scientific backing, and therefore we should be sensitive. We could be a little sensitive while being critical on these aspects. That's all I want to say. So this is why I would like to say that let us respect each other's individuality. India is the country of diversity. We must look at integrating and not dividing people. We should not look at uniformizing everything. We must look at having the mosaic model. Remember the mosaic model? That is far away from the salad ball model and far away from the melting pot model. Terms and concepts. The first term is IVFRT scheme, right? This is a scheme for visa. Is India offering visa to the people who come from abroad, right? And the number has only increased in the last 5 years. Now, under this scheme, all the people who apply for visa, this process has gotten automated. So the scheme's name is Immigration Visa Foreigners Registration Tracking, right? Immigration Visa Foreigners Registration Tracking. Now, so needless to say that there's a database, and this database also tracks people, not directly, not their GPS location, but tracks how many days they stayed in India, how many times they entered India and they left back. I was a part of the government department, and in fact, this was directly linked to my work to know if a person entered India and how many times did they enter India, right? For example, there were people coming from Central Asia and entering India in the last 2 years 350 times. Entering India 350 times in 700 days. How is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But then can we not look at this from the view of suspicion? Not really, because when we investigate this issue, we understand that from Central Asia, they do trade with India. What they do is bring dry fruits to India, and what they take back from India is our textiles, right? Especially the marriage and garment wear. They take it back to their Central Asian countries. That is how they come to India those many times. Who's been tracking this? IVFRT has been tracking this, right? Immigration Visa Foreigner Registration Tracking. Similarly, when we look at tracking of Pakistani nationals coming to India, or country from or those countries which are in some sort of internal turmoil, so tracking is at a different level. Whenever a national comes from Pakistan to India, they can't only have their name on IVFRT, they also have to have a background check with the embassy. And when they come to India, every local police station they go to, they will have to register that they have arrived at this place. This is how, and this data is uploaded at IVFRT. So this is how it is updated. This also helps us to track the people of Indian origin. So we are talking of overseas citizens of India. This is only increased in the late times, in the last 5-7 years, where a lot of people have started to come into our country as tourists, as visitors with emotional backings. They visit India. It's good. India's business growing. IVFRT, the scheme has been extended. Good enough. The second term for today is Deocha Pachami coal blocks. A very important coal blocks. Mega coal project has been initiated in western side of the West Bengal, touching Jharkhand. These are the largest coal blocks in Asia. Largest coal block in Asia. And the government had said that they would ensure that people would get proper rehabilitation. That is why in news. So do remember Deocha Pachami coal blocks. 12 villages, around 20,000 people, they have to be rehabilitated. The amount to be given to them, that will increase. And their resettlement cost, they will be given jobs in these local projects. This is what has been proposed. All right. This is why it is in news. Mega coal project is expected to generate employment to about 1 lakh people. So sharing of employment is important, and people have been opposing this lately. That is why news. International Intellectual Property Index. This is released by an American agency, a private agency, and they have appreciated India because India's intellectual property index has only risen. The points have risen, so that is why a number has also risen lately. India now ranks 43 out of 55 countries which are rated. They don't rate all the 200 countries. Right, so is India protecting the patents, copyright, trademarks, design right, trade secret, IP assets, all of them? We have covered a complete feature news, totally covered. So this part is covered right there. India has got a decent regimen of intellectual property rights, but they're not very, very efficient, right? For example, lately only the Chief Justice mentioned this to the courts, that all the high courts should be empowered to understand what intellectual property theft means. Now these are specialized. We don't have specialized codes, but these are very specialized domains of knowledge, intellectual property, and what does the theft of this mean? So therefore, awareness by law community, awareness by the police itself, this becomes very, very critical. We had studied that out of 10 raids conducted, 9 of them, they just go scot-free because people are not aware how to prosecute these cases. And this is where the advanced countries fear doing business with India, because when they do business with India, they want to register their intellectual property. There is no data protection, and a lot of things can happen, right? But then India's score has only increased because India is trying to follow the best practices of the world. What's on the moon challenge? What's on the moon? What a good name. So this is a challenge which has been initiated by NASA, and this is the scheme level 2 that they have started, the same project that they had. Now this is the second level that they have started for this second phase. They are awarding $5 million to those people who are helping them sort the questions of what happens when people go to moon. For example, critical gaps like power systems, like energy storage, power transmission, all of them become very important. See, the reason why our probes on NASA, on moon or on Mars, whatever planets we go to, they stop, is because the energy systems, they are not able to transmit the data for a lot of time, right? So their life could be 5 years, 15 years, or say 10 days only. But then if we are able to have them, have them commit to power transmission, energy storage for a longer duration, we can also bring them back. But presently we don't have that capability. So we spend millions of dollars, billions of dollars at times, but then we don't bring them back. What we are able to do is, through this energy system, transmit all the information as much as possible to us, as long as you can. So NASA now says that people are also welcome if you are at the right age, right? So eligible participants are individuals who are US citizens or permanent residents of USA. Amlan, you can look at this opportunity for yourself. Permanent residents of USA, go migrate, 18 years of age or older. I believe you are a little older than 18. And then you can look at going to this place, maintain a primary place of business in America, and then you can further participate in these lunar probes, right? Energy storage systems or power storage, and then win $5 million. $1 million is 8 crore rupees. So 40 crore rupees you win. Not 40, it will be divided among many people. So last time they conducted, this was divided among 8 or 9 participants, everybody receiving $500,000. So what, $500,000, you will be able to own a Lamborghini car that costs around $300,000, right? So it's a win-win for you. What do you think? Rather than getting into Israel-Malaysia conflict, what do you think? All right, moving ahead, editorials of the day. The first editorial is on Ukraine war, India and stand of non-alignment. Before we understand India's non-alignment stand, let us understand this editorial. A very good editorial on hybrid war strategies that Russia has used over all the times, right? So what is hybrid war? Hybrid war is the one in which the traditional military capabilities are utilized along with whatever is technical, whatever is other intelligence gathering, etc. What are they, or what could they be? They could be disinformation, propaganda, use of proxies, covert operations, intelligence gathering, cyber warfare, and Russia has used these already in war with Ukraine. In fact, before it started its war on Ukraine, on the ground, it already had the cyber attack conducted in Ukraine. There were spies moving around in Ukraine wearing Ukrainian military uniforms. Imagine this. And not only right now, it conducted this kind of operation hybrid war even during Crimean annexation. What it did was, there were various places, the complete peninsula of Crimea, where Russia also had access. It had access that time, 2014, and if you remember Sea of Azov and Kerch Strait, Russian ships also would move around. So many of the Russian soldiers, they were in civilian uniforms, and some of them were also in Ukrainian uniform. They cut out the whole, peninsular region, and they ensured that, the referendum was conducted here all silently. Nobody even got to know what is happening. The world could not even react, and referendum was conducted, and it became a part of Russia. Imagine this. This was the speed at which it reacted. So I have put the word here. The word is blitz. Blitz. Sudden attack. Sudden, and nobody knows what has happened. This is how Russia, annexed Crimea, and it became a part of Russia. See, you would want to call it as annexation, but Russia says freeing the people, freeing the Russians. So Russia has been doing this. It has done the same kind of war in some of the European countries. For example, Estonia, it conducted this kind of operation in the 2000s. I think 2007. This is when it conducted this operation in Estonia, and cyber warfare with Estonia, banking operations, all of them received denial of services. It has done the same thing right now in Ukraine. We discussed this. Many banking operations, defense services, the public services, they were all halted, and Ukraine could not do anything about this. Not only that, we also look at the propaganda and disinformation that has been spread. Example of disinformation: Ukrainian people attacked the Russians, minority Russians in Donetsk and Luhansk region. We don't know the reports, but then this is what was spread. So and propaganda was spread that the Russians are getting attacked all over. So let us prevent that happening. Let us free those people. This is the hybrid war, and this is the form of war that many nations have not become a part of, but Russia is right now. It is practicing what was theorized till now. And look at what is the essence that we draw from this, is that India could become a part of hybrid war as a recipient or as somebody who wants to defend itself. India could learn the hybrid warfare here, right? So do we have sleeper cells in India? Absolutely we do. We do. The defense ministry always keeps on speaking about it. The home ministry also does. We have CERT, right? CERT in India, right? Cyber emergency response team in India, and they help in curtailing the cyber warfare. Do we intelligence gather? Absolutely we do. Do we conduct covert operations? Look at the kind of covert operations, though India might not agree to the naval officer in Pakistan jail. What was his name? But then do we conduct these operations? Yes, all the countries do. Even the friendly nations to India do these operations in India itself. And then disinformation, propaganda, use of proxies, this is what must be avoided, right? This is what Russia has been doing, but it must be avoided. So let me bring to you what is the difference between disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. These are three important ways in which information can be misused. So misinformation is the one in which by mistake I said something that was not accurate. Remember yesterday we covered an article about Gurugram, and one of these centers in Gurugram being designated as the IUCN, the special list or something. Misinformation. If I said that this was 600 acres and it was actually 400 acres, this was unintentionally done and this was a mistake. So this is false information, but no harm intended. Purposefully, I did not want to harm anybody. On the other hand, disinformation is the one in which there was an intention to harm, right? And I purposefully spread that particular information. Good example of this, Russia-Ukraine, that somebody is, harming the Russians here. So disinformation. And if it is not happening, that is disinformation, right? So, for example, lynching happening at this place, please, let's gather together and then let's oppose it. This could be disinformation, could be. And this could have the intention of harming. On the other hand, malinformation, it is the correct information, but passed on at the wrong place, not required. It could be not for the public gains, but it could be to gain personal advantage, corporate advantage. For example, correct information, but then taken from me and stolen about me and shared in a public forum, right? So simple example is chats, hate speeches, correct information, but intention is not wrong. Intention is wrong, information is correct, right? So this is what is the difference between misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So falseness and intent to harm. This is how you can disintegrate both of them, right? Fake news is a part of disinformation. What does it do? At times fake news can ensure that you start even you click on the Google ads or links or news, and this also pays those people. So sometimes they use this ad for a very limelighting introduction, but then the body does not contain it. So this is clickbait, right? They use false information so that you just click on the article. There could be conspiracy theories, there could be misleading content information, propaganda, satire. Yes, at times satire also. Satire, but then satire does not mean that they want to convey the wrong information. Satire just means blowing it out of proportion and possibly did not intend harm, but then it was suffered. For example, Russia ने पूरे दुनिया को उड़ा दिया है, right? So it doesn't mean दुनिया को उड़ा दिया, right? It just means that this is a satire of its kind. So how to ensure that this kind of fake information does not spread? A solution here. Consider the sources. Read beyond that article to understand. Know who the author is. and try to look at the author's support source as well. What are the supporting sources? Are there other articles which are of this similar kind? This is the reason that we provide, whenever we cover our articles, we provide links of sources also, right? So that you know that there is a credible backing to it as well, right? So do we have our own biases or not? Important ways to understand if the news is fake or not. Okay, so this can be actually part of your GS2 governance or GS paper 3, where we look at security of the country. I thought this should help you, so covered this part. All right, moving ahead to, see, there are some intuitions we have. I have my intuitions, so do you. So when you have intuitions, start looking at it, start doing some research, ask people, ask me if you feel that your intentions are could be a hunch for a question asked in the examination. It could actually be. So similarly, where I feel there is a hunch, I discuss that a little more than required. What about the non-alignment of India? See, there were times when Nehru was leader and he would not accept that national interest would be prime interest. He would consider virtue as a prime interest. For example, non-violence, one of the important values, core values. But then these are the times in which national interest plays a very, very big role. You have yourself seen, many of you could have thought earlier that probably this was not legit, the way Russia annexed Ukraine. And yes, that is absolutely true. However, how much should we speak, or what forum should we speak at? This is at our disposal, and this is also based on national interest. You saw the dependence that India has on Russia. We are also preoccupied with a country like China, and if we have certain enmity with Russia or be cold with them, they will have further alliance with China. Right now, imagine if India-China has a war, at least India will be able to speak to Russia, you don't meddle in this war. But if India opposes Russia, Russia and China will have an access, and whole of access to East China Sea will be a tough thing for India, right? So you can well imagine this editorial has been a very balanced editorial, very, very balanced editorial. You must try to read this editorial. This speaks about the violation by Russia and the mistakes committed by NATO and by USA both. This also says that Ukraine has committed a mistake. Absolutely, a very, very balanced stand. See, although Ukraine is an independent country, yet the mistake that it committed was that it did not look at the fear and the apprehensions of Russia, a major power in the region, but it did not look at what Russia was warning all the time about. Had it looked at that, then probably Ukraine would not have gone, for its merger with NATO forces or European Union. It could have chosen a middle path. And then towards the end of the editorial, the editorial clearly says that right now India is choosing to keep quiet and take a neutral stand. But if there are more casualties in the war, India might have to speak a little more about this. Beautifully put. So you must gain some wisdom from this. Go to the link and read this beautiful editorial. Now, this is the third editorial. This is talking about resilience in the warming world, right? This says that the short-term stopgap arrangements, right? For example, creating the embankments, for example, changing the course of the river, or merging of rivers. These are not the ways in which we are going to handle the warming world. What is in the long run required is to develop resilience of environmental, social and physical infrastructure. Resilience. So adaptability is what it is focusing on rather than mitigation. Mitigation will also cost us infrastructure, finances, right, and maintenance, all that. And on the other hand, if we become more resilient, or if we adapt to it, this will be a more futuristic approach for the longer times. This is what is the crux of this editorial, an important and good editorial. But the previous one was even important for you to read. Now see, if you like this initiative, share some love for the efforts that we kind of carry, and thanks for noting the way we work, because at Edukemy we see, genuinely we all care for each other, no? That is the prime objective. If you get through the examination, you will automatically say that there were some people who helped me really well. So what is there to market? What is to market is to actually share the most valuable content with you as much as possible, as much as we can. So yes, and the rest, choice is yours to be a part of it or not. Absolutely, we all are mature and adults, and look at, and this is where what brings me to the case study of the day. A small child of 9 years of age and she started tendering to trees, small trees, at the age of 4. Right now she is 9 years, Prasiddhi Singh from Chennai, and she has ensured that trees are preserved. So 28,000 fruit trees planted by her own hands. She has a foundation on her name, 20 mini forests. Imagine this. This is the kind of wonders that the child is doing. Remember the another wonderful child? She was helping removing the plastic pollution from areas through scuba diving with the help of her father. Another child doing some wonderful activities. So inspiration for us. In fact, I myself feel that I have not planted a single plant as of now. Not planted a single plant, but as a part of the ecosystem, I'm the one intaking a lot of oxygen from the plants itself. I have, I think I definitely am, I'm abhari, that is the word. I'm deeply, what is the English for this? I'm deeply, I feel obliged by the kind of services I'm getting from the environment. There are 4 kind of services that we receive from our environment. You must know all these 4 kind of services, right? Now, immediately we will switch over to the other video that is on current affairs, feature news. Remember ADEC, the news is hot. Pick up the important articles. Just spend 2 minutes, maximum 2 minutes on each article. In 30 minutes, you will be able to cover all the articles. 2 minutes of what we have covered, that is what is relevant for it, right? More than that, it is not worth. Otherwise, you will be committing yourself to doing some research work. Not very relevant, because news keeps flowing. My idea is to give you an opinion so that you don't have to look at alternate sources, so that you don't spend more time. And see, what do? We help you analyze, we help you pick up the important data. And if you do this much, all is left to you is to prepare notes and memorize. That's all. And after that, practice. This is it. And so these are important pieces that you have to do, but the rest of the part you leave on us. We will help you sort this, right? But then don't apply your mind by looking at many other sources and comparing, because this will spend a lot of time, and through this you will only get deflected. It will ensure that something gets lagged out. So this is what happens. But anyhow, thank you for the trust. We will see you in the feature news very shortly. But then if there are questions, I will just deal with it. Okay, what are the conversations here? Vivek says, win and come back, Amlan. He wants to get through the civil service examination. No, he wouldn't go. Send me just 10%. I think I also deserve a little here. At least the person who marketed the scheme, NASA scheme. Okay. Kulbhushan Jadhav. Yes, that was the man. Pakistan jail, languishing. I can aid via virtual mode. With that money, I'm going to display a picture on Burj Khalifa. See, UAE is already doing that for the Indian flag. The kind of camaraderie UAE has with India is phenomenal. But again, you saw UAE doing trade with Pakistan as well. So we don't know. All right. Thank you for participating. Thank you for appreciating this effort and your likes. We will quickly move on to the other video that is on lifestyle for environment. So thank you. Thank you, and we will see you in the other video. Questions, please post them down. We will get back to you. Thank you for watching.